You know, one of the differences, at least in theory, between a democracy with a free press and an authoritarian regime is that in an authoritarian regime, the regime decides when a news story is over. And in a democracy with a free press, the journalists decide when a story is over. So you tell me whether it sounds like a democracy with a free press or an authoritarian regime when White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt, Comrade Leavitt, says we are moving on from this story. We're moving on from it. The White House is moving on. Let's take a listen.
And that remains true. And this call, if it did happen, corroborates exactly what President Trump has said from the beginning. And I'm sure many of you, when you read that alleged FBI report, probably thought to yourself, wow, this really cracks our narrative that we've been trying to push about this president for many years. So we're moving on from that. Reagan.
We are moving on from that. Spoken like a true propaganda minister. We are moving on from that. If the White House decides the story is over, that is it. That is the final word as far as Karoline Leavitt is concerned. Now, we're not going to let her do it. And I know that there are lots of excellent journalists who simply will not bow down to this. Some of them are independent. There's even people in legacy and corporate media, as much as we criticize it, who are not going to let the story go away. And it's understandable why they want the story to go away. Because Karoline Leavitt is increasingly unable to answer for or defend the growing number of Trump associates that are appearing in the files. Trump appears in the files, someone said 1 million times. I don't know if that's true. We know he's in the files tens of thousands of times. Maybe it is hundreds of thousands or even 1 million times, but certainly he is in there thousands of times, tens of thousands of times. And so she doesn't get to decide that the story is over. But here she is uncomfortably having to answer questions about Howard Lutnick, whose previous claims that after I met Epstein once, my wife and I decided we would never be in the same room as him again. And then after that, he had a meeting with him and he had lunch on his island with him. All right, so here's Karoline Leavitt.
Bloomberg. Thanks, Caroline. Secretary Lutnick today was testifying on the Hill, and he said that he had visited Epstein's island in 2012 with his wife and children. And that's after he said that he had cut ties with Epstein. And Justice Department documents show that he was in contact with Epstein through 2018 over messages. So does the White House stand behind Secretary Lutnick right now, or given what he has said today, has there been any shift in how the White House is viewing Secretary Lutnick's performance?
No, Secretary Lutnick remains a very important member of President Trump's team, and the president fully supports the secretary. I will just point out that there are a lot of wins in the news this week that people in this room have not asked about.
That's what we call a subject change. This is another tactic. No. We have full confidence in Howard Lutnick. It's all very well and good, and it's phenomenal. Now, here are 6 propaganda items. You know, Donald Trump he signed a declaration about how great olive oil is, thanks to Robert F. Kennedy. And why aren't you talking about that? The topic of a pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell came out. Now, you may or may not have heard that Ghislaine Maxwell has essentially said during a remote virtual testimony, she said that unless she is granted a sentence commutation or a pardon, she is not going to finger, and I'm using that term proverbially to be clear, she is not going to finger specific individuals unless there is something really made available to her. So here is Karoline saying a lot of things, but not that Trump is ruling out a pardon for her.
Maxwell, is the president going to rule out a pardon for her in her testimony, deposition yesterday? Her legal team seems to be making a case again for a pardon from the president.
Again, this is not something I've discussed with the president recently because, frankly, it's not a priority. He's focused on many of the issues that the American people are dealing with and providing solutions to those issues. So I haven't spoken with him recently. Last time we did speak about it, he said it's not something he's considering or thinking about.
The thing she doesn't mention is that while when Trump says, I'm not thinking about it, they want you to believe that what he means is it's not something that matters to him. It's not a priority to him. He's not leaning towards giving her a pardon. What they actually, what the reality of this is that if indeed it came to it and the you-know-what hit the fan, Trump's additional statement has been, but I have the right to do it. Trump goes, it's an interesting question. I'm not thinking about it. But I have the right to do it. I can do it if I want. She doesn't mention that part because the real story is Trump wants to go, I'm not worried about it because it wouldn't implicate me, but I do have the right to pardon her. Well, sir, no one is questioning your right to do it. We're questioning why on earth you would do it, given the horrible acts that she has been convicted of. Finally, and this is straight up Kafkaesque, Karoline Leavitt says that one of the priorities of Trump is going after pedophiles and rapists. They aren't even going after the alleged predators in the Epstein files that we know about. She wants us to believe that the pedophiles and rapists that are hidden out there, we don't know who they are, Trump's going after them. He's not even going after the ones whose names we know.
It is not, and let me correct the record. Number one, the Trump administration has been clear from day one that any illegal alien present in this country is subject to deportation. However, the priority, of course, is going after the convicted criminals, the worst of the worst, the murderers, the pedophiles, the rapists in this country. Interestingly,
Number one, they are casting a much wider net than the violent criminals who are undocumented that they told us they would. That's number one. But number two, I kind of question the commitment to going after pedophiles and rapists when we've got a list of a whole hell of a lot of them in the Epstein files and nobody is going after them. Appreciate you watching. Stick around for this next video and don't forget to hit subscribe so you actually see our uploads. You can also catch the full podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.